Have you ever been in a situation where you know you're right and you want to convince somebody else of your opinion? You want them to see the things in the same way as you see them. But they won't have any of it. They won't listen to you, or they'll get in an argument with you about it, and they just won't listen. They won't take over your opinion. They won't see the things the way you see them, and it frustrates you. Well, I've been in a lot of these kinds of situations, and I found a way to remove that frustration for myself. At least it's still something that I work on every day. And I want to share this with you in this video. So, you're talking to a loved one, right? Maybe it's your brother, maybe it's your father, maybe it's your mother, maybe it's your girlfriend, maybe it's your boyfriend, whoever. And you're trying to convince them of your opinion because you've seen something and you really want to share this with them because you think it would make their life better. But they won't listen. They put up a wall, and yeah, you can say anything you want, they just won't listen. And then maybe you get in a heated argument about it. And you try to convince them, but you've tried everything and it doesn't work. Well, I know how frustrating this can be. I've researched so many things in my life and I've seen so many truths that were different in the way that they were taught to me at school, and all these kinds of things in the world that turn out to be in a different way according to my own research. And I wanted to share them. I wanted to share these insights with people I love, with people I care about, with my friends, with my family, with my parents. I wanted to share these things because I thought this is so important to share. This is something that can change your life. And this is something that has changed my life. But a lot of the times, it doesn't matter how passionate you are about it. People, they have their own opinions. They have their own lives. They have their own way of looking at things. And yeah, a lot of the times they won't take over your opinion, or it takes a long time for them to change anything in their lives. You don't have control over that. And our frustration when we talk to our loved ones and they won't listen to us about something is that we want to control them. We want to be able to control them. We want to be able to give them our opinion, give them our way of looking at things, and that would be the best for them. Although we think that, and although that may be the case, we still cannot control them. So, I've dealt a lot with these kinds of situations, and I've found a way to change my perspective on this. I now live by a phrase which I've come up with, which is, all that matters is that my intent is pure. And this phrase gives me so much more peace. And every time I feel myself wanting to control somebody else, I remind myself of this. So, what is so good about this phrase? All that matters is that my intent is pure. What do I mean by that? Well, this is what I tell myself, that my goal should not be to control somebody else. My goal should always be that my intent is pure. Which means that my intent of bringing this information, my intent of making this video for you, is that my intent is pure. It's not about convincing you. It's not about convincing your loved ones. It's not about convincing your friends. It's not about that. It's all about that your intent is pure. Because that's the only thing that you have control over. So, you should not set your standards for success or for having a successful interaction that high that you want to control somebody else, because that's not something you have control over. You cannot control others. At least you can try, but you won't always succeed. And the most important thing is that you act according to your best intentions. Your intention should be pure. And that means that it should come from a place of love. And that's what I always tell myself when I'm in a situation like this. Like, I tell myself, my intent was pure. I gave out of love. Because I love someone, I told them something which I thought would benefit them. I thought would benefit their life. And I've done that, and that's all that matters. Of course, it can be sad if you see somebody doing bad things in their life and they won't listen to you because you think you know something better. But that's something you cannot control. You cannot control somebody else. So all that matters is that you did the right thing. You said something that would give them value. You said something out of love for them. And that's the only thing you can do. So all that matters is that your intent is pure. Of course, it's always good to expect the best out of somebody. Because if you expect the best out of people, often they will act accordingly. It's an unconscious thing that if you have a good expectation about somebody's behavior, you will tend to draw the best out of them. But still, you cannot control them. They could react in a very, very different way than you expected it. But that should not matter. How I look at it is that if your intent was pure, if your intent came from the right place, which is a place of love, you wanted to share something with somebody, you wanted to share something with them, and it came from the right place. It wasn't out of trying to get something from them, which is a really nasty intention. A pure intention is one of love, is one where you want to give something to somebody else out of love, out of mutual benefit or out of the benefit for them. And that's always in your own best interest as well, because you also want to live in a world where people act like that. So if you are a good example, you create that world for yourself. So the next time you speak with somebody you love and you just know the best thing, you just want them to see this thing, they won't see it, they will just keep doing it and they won't see that thing. Remind yourself that all that matters is that your intent is pure, because that's the only thing you have control over. That, because for me it was like I was doing these things out of the fear of not being enough. I felt like I wasn't enough, so I needed more girls in my life. I needed girls to like me. I needed to be that guy who would be perceived as that guy who can get girls. And yeah, I